what they do out there when they pick teams, do they have a committee pick them and then assign the coaches, or do they have the coaches draft them and pick their players, or what happens out there?
Well, I think every organization has their own model. The organization that I work with, what they do is they get the coaches to do an evaluation of each of the kids at the end of the season. Then they bring in a group of independent evaluators who will then select the strongest players if you're on the top team. And then depending on how many teams you have, you might have two, generally have two to level. Excuse me. Sometimes you have three, but generally you have two. So they'll select based on the tryouts who looks to be the strongest players for the top team, and then the next group for that second team. They'll give that to the organization. Then the organization and their coaches will decide ultimately who they want to choose. And some of it will depend too on, you may have a player that's a really skilled player, but doesn't listen well, is disruptive, sometimes disrespectful. So that top team coach may say that kid's not going to fit in my culture. That kid's going to be better served where he can have success at the team below, not trying to prove themselves and show everyone how good they are, because naturally they will have some success. So we can work on those other things that maybe that kid needs to work on. So the coaches have say in who is picked. The evaluators give the information. Some organizations, because I'll do this with an organization I work with, and we'll maybe work with 6 to 8 different youth organizations in the state. And some will have categories. Some will have stick skills, skating skills. They'll have hockey IQ, shooting, passing, those kinds of things. And you rank the kids, and they'll use that. And some of them get, I guess, pretty sophisticated. They'll take those, they'll put them into their computer programs that they have, their formula, and based on that, they'll come out with those numbers. And then again, have the human aspect of it too. Like, all right, well, this kid is a pretty good player, but they're never at practice. They only show up for games. So how do you want to deal with that? So they all have somewhat similar with their own little tweaks, but they do take into consideration the human factor, if you will, too.
Tom, when you drafted your teams over the years, and your son, he has a pretty detailed formula.
Yeah.
And I know your assistant coaches, and they spend a lot of time on details, looking at players more than you and me, I think.
Oh, we met after every ice time on the tryouts, right?
Yeah.
We'd meet and talk about the different players and kind of rank them. So we had well, it wasn't just him, but he's more meticulous than most. And yeah, it's such an important time because you gotta, but it was really this year, because you couldn't protect anybody. We ended up with one player from last year. The other teams ended up with all our returning players.
Tom, this year when you drafted, you obviously drafted in rank order. Are there players that have exceeded your expectations, that have improved so much that they actually surprised you?
Oh yeah, I mean our number 11. She's our most effective player right now. We didn't take her till about the 5th forward. But last year, Lazari was taken about 7th forward.
Yeah.
He led the league in scoring. So tryouts are a different animal too, right? There's no structure,
No.
and some players look really good in tryouts. But once there's structure and all this kind of stuff, they don't look very good. So that's always if you don't know the players,
Yeah.
the first time you're seeing them. Of course,
Yeah.
the ones that grab the puck and go end to end and fly all over the place catch
Yeah.
everybody's eye. But it's an imperfect science, that's for sure.
This year, Peter, I was watching the 11 and 12-year-olds, U13, and being a former scout, I kept a score on their skills, another one on their hockey IQ, and the third one on their intangibles, the character, work ethic, commitment, coachability, effort kind of thing. And at the end of the day, everybody drafted. I didn't draft. I just watched. And every one of the teams drafted people I never even ranked. And I'm watching those players play today that I had and are on no rank that were picked in the bottom third, but now might be in the middle or the top third. So how much they can mature, change, grow if they haven't played elite hockey before is amazing. And I'm wondering how long does this learning curve, improvement curve go on? Because Peter, I'm sure you've had stories of older athletes, even coming to university, that suddenly matured physically and mentally to perform better than ever.
Yeah, I don't think there's an easy answer to that one. I don't think you can say that, by this age, if you're not at a certain skill level, you're all done, right? I mean, if you go way back, I think Kevin Stevens, right, played for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think the story with him was he started playing when he was 15 years old, and he ended up in the NHL. So you can have that kind of a gifted athlete that for sure. I think it's like anything else. I think it's the kids that stay with it the longest, that have the opportunities, because again, like Tom mentioned, about today, everybody's got a skills coach, a skating coach. If you're able to do that, you're going to probably maximize your opportunity. You won't, there's never a guarantee, but you'll probably maximize your opportunity. And then again, I really think it comes down to that kid's culture. I mean, what they are willing to do as far as sacrifice, work ethic, and such to get to where they want to go. I mean, we've all coached players that are similar to what you're talking about there, Wally, who, you know what, this kid just doesn't go away. They just keep working and working, and eventually they get to a point because they have that kind of work ethic. That boy that I mentioned, who I think he's probably the best hockey player I've ever coached. And it was 100% because of his commitment to the game and the sacrifices that he was willing to make in order to achieve those.
Tom, I'm thinking of the NHL. How Pavel Datsyuk, do you remember when he was drafted, what level? And then all of a sudden he moved up and became a superstar.
Well, Detroit would draft all these Europeans that nobody knew anything about, right?
Yeah.
And he was just super amazing. He's quite the player. It's fun watching. Jim was showing one of our players his highlights.
Yeah.
A player that's having trouble putting the puck in the net on shootouts and stuff.
Yeah.
So you showing her Datsuk and that one, when he goes backwards and the goalie's sprawling, he flips it up in the air and just goes in a little loop over top of the goalie.
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So I interpreted Dasick to be a late mature. What you're saying, and I agree with you. There's a lot of European players we never knew about that were that good, and
Well,
somehow,
yeah, Detroit brought in all those guys that. Well, first of all, the Russians couldn't get here,
yeah,
right? And they just had all those guys on the line. They knew what they were doing. I'm sure Datsuk was a star in Russia,
yeah.
but he
Well,
was pretty amazing, that's for sure.
well, there's one player with the Calgary Flames that I thought, boy, did they make a mistake. And Tom, you know who I'm talking about. He plays goal. And Peter, this guy was small. He was really good at every level he played at, the best starting goalie at the Major Junior League and the American League. And the few games that I saw him play, which actually was quite a few, I thought he was just too small, wasn't reacting, wasn't stopping pucks. But Tom, how would you describe him right now? It's almost like he's the talk of the NHL.
Well, he's let in 2 goals in the last 3 games. He was not only the all-star goalie in the American League,
Yeah,
he was the MVP of the whole league. Like he is so controlled and reads the game so well. He's not diving all over because he kind of anticipates the game so well.
yeah,
And he's not that small. He's 6 foot tall.
yeah,
I mean, that used to be a big goalie,
yeah,
but now they're all 6'20".
yeah.
So, but he doesn't use the butterfly as a security blanket. I just hope the puck hits him. He's in the play all the time. Like he's pretty darn amazing, I think.
Yeah, Wally, I did some quick research for you. Pavel Datsyuk was a 6th-round draft pick, picked 171st overall, and the scouting report on him was he was a cerebral tactician, dangler, and two-way center.
Well, he should have been drafted higher, I think, by somebody.
Yeah, I would say in hindsight, everybody looking at that is probably talked to their scouting staff and said, why?
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that intrigues me, Peter, over the years, and I don't know how you access that stat and feedback, but there's been so many first round draft picks that just haven't done it. Now, one that seems to have matured right now with New York, is that Lafreniere?
Yeah, Lafreniere, right? He's a Lafreniere?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Wally, so this is something called Elite Prospects.
yeah,
It's called Elite you put in eliteprospects.com, all one,
yeah,
and you can research anyone almost that ever played. I mean, I think it goes back to a certain point, but
Well, last night at this banquet, I'm at the back and I'm standing beside Craig Conroy, and there's this Jason Krywaluk beside me, and he led all scorers in major junior hockey in Canada. Never went to a camp, but 81 goals, 81 assists. And I said, Craig, here's a draft choice. Here's a draft choice for you, 81 goals. And he finally said, well, what was their knock on you? And they didn't think he could skate. All he could do is get goals and assists. And nowadays, what they do, they have a skating coach and they have guys working on skating. Eh? I mean,
yeah,
this guy, he was a 1-second player because he got 81 assists too. Like he knew where everybody was. He's a straight A student, and his shot was absolutely unstoppable. But an inch under the crossbar, and he could shoot, terrible passes. Like he got that shot on net all the time, and and in that was in the 90s, and they just Didn't do anything with the players, because I know one of Calgary's players right now, Zari, he wasn't a very good skater. And he's been working with a skating coach all summer, the last 2 years now. He's a pretty good skater. You know, he's a dangler too. But yeah, 81 goals and you don't even go to NHL camp. You lead the whole country.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that was, that was a time where they didn't have those, like you said, they didn't have the skating coaches really. And hey, if you can't, if there were so many players out there, you know what, maybe I can't find somebody with 81 goals but I can find a 60 goal scorer who can skate. That's a better risk.
Yeah. Well, if they, like Lanny McDonald scored 77 goals, I think, standing on the dot on the, and one time the puck, he could score, he could shoot as well as Lanny at any point. I used to love just watching him in practice. I'd watch him go. I bet you he scored 80% of the shots he took in practice. Like, it was amazing. Other guys would go and hit the glass, and the goalie would stop it. He'd go in and the puck was in the net. He just could do it. I've never been around. I guess Danny Heatley was the closest I saw to that, the guy that put the puck in all the time. But it's pretty amazing when someone can do that.
Absolutely.
Peter, did you watch Coronado play?
I did not. I
Because
did not.
apparently he sort of turned the corner, Tom, eh?
Yeah, well, they had him doing skating too.
Yeah.
And they were saying the other day he was a defenseman when he was in youth hockey. But anyways, yeah, now he's like he really showed Bedard up in an overtime. They had their goalie pulled.
Yeah.
And a puck was dumped down the ice, just maybe to the top of the circle in Chicago's end.
Yeah.
And him and Bedard were racing for the puck, and he just left him in his dust. But
he's becoming a first line winger now.
Oh, he can shoot the puck.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
Yeah. The Calgary Flames, Peter, they're an interesting team. They're well under their cap. They haven't traded or tried to trade for draft picks. And I don't know what the record is. Do they have 10 wins yet, Tom?
They're 10-6-3.
Yeah. So they've exceeded
and they can't score.
Yeah, they've got the their top scorer is the defenseman, and he's 136th, I think, in the league in scoring. Rasmussen.
Fellas, I have to run here. I got a call I got to take pretty soon here. It was a good session. It was always good to catch up with you guys.
Peter, thanks for coming
Good
on.
seeing you, Peter.
Yeah, and Tom, you can keep the snow up there. That's okay.
Okay.
We were really lucky. Like, it held off till mid-November. The 18th, we got our first snow because
All right.
makes the winter a little shorter.
True story. True story. All right, you guys have a great week.
You
You
take
too.
care, Peter. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.